Hi guys! We had the chance to score a few old office PCs from an office clearance, and we plan to give you several videos about them and see if they are worth it or not worth it in the current computer climate to use as a basis for a gaming PC. And today we start with this. This is HP Pavilion Desktop PC. The model is 560-P079NG. The good thing about this one is that it comes with an SSD and a hard drive. The SSD is rather small, only 120 or something gigabytes, and 1 terabyte hard drive. Inside we have Core i5-6400 with 8 gigabytes of memory. It's DDR4 2133. And you even have an integrated card reader and also DVD drive. So let's make a quick look inside, but before that, this video was created with the help of our friends from pCloud. And now let's see how it looks inside. It's a slightly different orientation. Normally the open side is on the right, not on the left. We have 300 watts 80 plus PSU, which has connectors for a graphics card. This model sometimes comes with a graphics card, and we have 2 slots for memory, only one is occupied. Unfortunately, specifications say that you can install maximum of 16 gigabytes of memory in there, so you can occupy the second slot with another 8 gigabyte stick. Here we have the hard drive and the SSD, also the optical drive in there. And as you can see, the motherboard is reversed. CPU fan is at the bottom. Here we have a 16 gigabyte slot for graphics card and another one PCI Express by 1 for additional cards. This is a Wi-Fi adapter, and unfortunately we don't have an M.2. There is pads for it, but it's not mounted, so we are left with only normal 2.inch SATA drives for SSDs. So, how are we going to make a gaming PC from this? We scored a few GeForce GTX 1060 Supers for quite nice price, and that's how we'll turn it into a gaming PC. By installing a GPU. It's a small card, ITX form factor, so it should easily fit in there because there is not much space at the back of the case due to the optical drive. Of course, you can remove the optical drive and open up some space for something better maybe, but the 300 watt PSU also limits you, as the maximum power of the CPU TDP is 84 watts plus some more for the rest of the system. So I think the maximum that you should load this PC with graphics power is about 150 watts or something. This one is a little bit less, should be, I think, 130. Though with your connector you can probably manage to fit even 225 watts GPU in there. Still, it might be a bit too much for this processor and this PSU. And also, another good thing, everything is already done for us. We don't need to do any installation of CPUs and so on. only the GPU, and that's it. You use this bracket to fix it back. That's pretty much it. And don't forget to power it up. We have 8-pin PCI Express power, which is good because our GPU uses the same connector. And we are ready. We have a gaming PC. But single stick of 8 GB of RAM is not a really good solution. We will later install in there 2 sticks of Kingston Fury. It's a bit of an overkill because it's DDR4 3200 memory and the CPU supports maximum of 2133. This is H170 platform. CPU is locked. You can't overclock the memory. So if you find a very cheap DDR4 stick, something basic like this in fact is 4 GB, you can stick it in there. In fact, 4 and 8 gives us 12 GB and it works in dual channel. So that's an option, very cheap. But one good option also is to buy some of these very cheap 3200 CL16 kits and just swap both sticks. In theory, it should give you slightly, very slightly better latency due to the supposed optimization for dual channel work of these sticks. And as you can see, the dual kit of DDR4 3200 is mounted. And our final contention for this PC is the storage system. We have a single 120 GB SSD drive, and you can't stick many games in there. You can probably manage Valorant, Fortnite, but you can stick games like Starfield or Baldur's Gate 3, and they should go on a hard drive. But in the requirements it is said that you should install them on SSD. So we will see how bad it is playing them from the hard drive. And of course we will check how the PC performs if you switch to a SATA SSD. You can of course just swap the small one with a bigger 500 gigabytes or 1 terabyte drive. They are very cheap right now. So we'll also check if there is much difference playing it from hard drive or SSD, or if the CPU is just too slow anyway. We're going to use Total War Warhammer 3 to demonstrate the difference in loading times, as it's the only game of which we use the integrated benchmark for the test. So let's see how much time it takes to load and run the benchmark on the 3 tested configurations. The differences are in fact more than noticeable, and the problem is not only the hard drive. As we can expect, the fastest is the variant with the SSD for the games and with 16 GB of memory in dual channel mode. It still takes 42 seconds to start the benchmark. On second place is the 16 GB version with hard drive. It takes more than double of the time at 88 seconds to start the benchmark. And finally, the single channel 8 GB initial configuration is the slowest at over triple the time of the SSD option with 154 seconds. That's more than 2 minutes, almost 3. Seems like there we also have additional limitation from the lower amount of memory and working in single channel. That also has some effect on performance in the test, as we will see later. Now, if you don't want to watch the whole length of the slow loading, just skip to the next segment. We've also taken the load times in 2 more games, and in Cyberpunk 2077 there is little difference between the 2 configurations using the hard drive, though adding an SSD for game storage still halves the load time. And in Fortnite in DX12 mode we have somewhat similar spread as in Total War Warhammer 3. The initial configuration with 8GB single channel RAM and hard drive is even slower than the rest. Now let's see how the PC performs in several games, 4 single player games and 5 multiplayer games. All the single player games are hardly playable, giving just over 30 FPS or even below that line, and 1% lows in most cases are just horrendous, especially in the games that require SSD like Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield. Still, in Baldur's Gate 3 and Total War Warhammer 3 it may be possible to play due to their turn-based nature, especially if you add in a SSD for the game storage. Starfield, however, keeps the occasional massive stutter even with additional flash storage.
Watching me.
For a moment, I thought that fall might kill you.
The situation in esports games is quite a bit better, as the only one that is not quite playable is COD Warzone 2. All the rest are more or less playable, with frames over 100 FPS most of the time. The initial configuration with that has effects on the average FPS and even more on the 1% low FPS. Adding more memory and moreover adding also additional SSD storage makes the things quite a bit better. The good thing is that even on the small initially installed SSD of the PC you can fit Fortnite, Valorant and maybe even CS2, so you're good on that front. And Apex Legends doesn't seem to have much of a problem running from a hard drive.
Attention, the kill.
Finally, let's see some quick tests of performance. We have Cinebench R23, 7-zip and WebXPR-T4. There doesn't seem to be much difference in performance there. The dual channel memory configuration adds a bit performance, but nothing notable to the end user. So if you just want to use the PC for some light office work, browsing on the internet and watching videos, you'll have no problem even with the initial configuration. So is this a good option for building basic gaming PC? If you can get the base for cheap, meaning for maybe less than $100, it may be worth it if you mainly plan to play esports games. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.